Let's start with the truth. Think and Grow Rich is not just about money. Yes, it's framed around building wealth. But what Napoleon Hill really created is a step-by-step blueprint for achieving any big goal in life, whether that's starting a business, becoming a leader, or creating the life you dream of. Hill didn't guess his way to this book. He spent over 20 years interviewing more than 500 of the most successful people of his time, names like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Andrew Carnegie. What he found wasn't luck, genius, or talent. It was a pattern, a mindset, a set of principles that anyone could follow if they had the guts to commit. And here's what Hill realized: riches begin in the mind. Every great achievement starts with a burning desire, a clear purpose, and the unwavering belief that it can and will be done. In fact, desire is the very first principle in the book. Hill says it's not enough to want success. You need a white-hot obsession, a want so strong that it turns into action. Most people wish for success. Winners demand it, through focus, sacrifice, and relentless effort. But desire alone isn't enough. That brings us to the second key, faith. Faith isn't about religion, it's about certainty. It's about programming your mind to believe in the outcome before it happens. Hill teaches that thoughts become reality, but only when they're backed by belief. If you constantly doubt yourself, your results will reflect that. If you feed your mind confidence, you'll attract opportunities and take bigger actions. So how do you build that belief? Through autosuggestion. That's a fancy word for self-talk. Hill says what you repeatedly say to yourself, out loud or silently, becomes your truth. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a lie and a vision. It simply follows what's repeated with emotion. That's why he recommends creating a personal statement of your goal, how much money you want, by when, and why, and reading it twice a day with full emotion. It might feel weird at first, but this daily repetition rewires your mind to focus, filter out distractions, and behave in alignment with your goal. Then comes specialized knowledge. Hill says general knowledge is everywhere, but it's not power. Real power comes from focused, relevant knowledge that solves a specific problem. You don't need to know everything. You need to know something valuable and apply it with purpose. That leads to imagination, the workshop where ideas are born. Hill divides it into two types: synthetic imagination, where you combine old ideas in new ways; creative imagination, where new, innovative thoughts come from out of the blue. Both are important, because no goal is achieved by copying. It's achieved by thinking originally, acting boldly, and trusting your ideas. By this point, you're probably seeing a theme. This isn't a book about working harder, it's about thinking deeper, clearer, and stronger. Your mind is your greatest tool, and Hill teaches you how to shape it. So far, we've talked about desire, faith, autosuggestion, and imagination. You've probably realized that this book isn't about some magical formula, it's about building a relentless mindset. A mindset that doesn't wait for opportunities but creates them. And the next piece of that puzzle is organized planning. Hill makes it clear: goals without plans are just wishes. You can have all the desire and belief in the world, but without a specific plan to act on, you're just dreaming. He challenges you to write down your plan, yes, on paper, and be ready to adjust it as needed, because your first plan might fail. In fact, it probably will. But the key is this: failure is not defeat. It's feedback. This is where most people give up. They hit a wall and assume the goal isn't for them. But Hill says this is the test. Life asks, how bad do you want it? And your persistence is your answer. And persistence is not a talent. It's a habit. You build it every time you keep going when it's easier to stop. Every time you face rejection and still show up the next day. Every time you refuse to settle. Hill calls it one of the essential qualities of success. Without it, nothing else matters. But here's something Hill says that's often overlooked: you don't build success alone. That's why he introduces the concept of the Mastermind Group, a small circle of people who support, challenge, and grow with you. These are people who share your ambition, sharpen your thinking, and keep you accountable. Hill believed that when two or more minds come together in harmony, a third invisible mind is created, a collective intelligence stronger than any one person alone. Whether it's in business, creativity, or personal growth, your environment matters. The wrong people drain you. The right ones elevate you. And while we're on people, Hill doesn't shy away from talking about one of the most powerful emotional forces we have: sexual energy. Yes, really. He says that many of the greatest achievements in history were driven by what he calls sex transmutation, the idea of redirecting raw desire and passion into focused creativity, ambition, and power. It's not about suppression. It's about channeling intense emotion into something meaningful, whether it's a project, a mission, or a legacy. Then Hill drops one of the most important, timeless lessons of all: decision. Indecision kills more dreams than failure ever will. Hill found that successful people make decisions quickly and firmly, while unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change them often. Why? Because success requires clarity. It requires choosing your path and committing, even when you're scared, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. Especially then. So what's the takeaway from part 2? You've got to plan, decide, and persist. And you need people around you who keep you sharp. Your thoughts shape your future, but your actions bring it to life. No shortcuts. No magic. You want success? Great. Then be ready to fail, adjust, and show up anyway. By now, we've built a foundation. Desire, faith, planning, persistence, imagination, and surrounding yourself with the right people. But here's the uncomfortable truth Hill brings up next. Most people fail, not because they don't have talent or desire, but because of fear. Fear is the quiet killer of success. It sneaks in as doubt, hesitation, procrastination, and insecurity. And unless you face it head-on, it will sabotage your goals, no matter how smart or driven you are. Napoleon Hill breaks it down into what he calls the 6 basic fears. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, fear of death. They might sound dramatic, but think about it. Ever stopped yourself from launching an idea because you were afraid of what others would say? Fear of criticism. Ever stayed in a comfort zone job because you feared losing income? Fear of poverty. Ever held back from chasing something big because deep down you were scared it wouldn't work? Fear of failure. Rooted in all of the above. Hill says this: these fears are mental habits, not fact. And like any habit, they can be broken through awareness and repeated action. The more you push through them, the weaker they get. The more you let them run your life, the stronger they grow. That's why the real battle is always inside your mind. Hill introduces a game-changing tool to win that battle: the subconscious mind. This is the part of you that stores beliefs, emotions, and repeated thoughts. You can't directly control it, but you can influence it. How? Through repetition, emotional intensity, and consistency. Every thought you repeat with feeling sinks into your subconscious and becomes part of your identity. So if you constantly say, "I'm not good with money," or "I don't deserve success," your subconscious makes that true. But if you feed it, "I am capable, I am focused, I am unstoppable," and back it with action, your subconscious rewires your reality. This isn't magic. It's mental conditioning. Hill connects this to another powerful force: the brain as a broadcasting system. He says your thoughts are like signals. What you focus on, you attract. When your mind is tuned to fear and doubt, that's what you notice. But when you train it to tune into faith, courage, and opportunity, you start spotting doors you didn't see before. This is also where intuition comes in, what Hill calls the sixth sense. He says once you've mastered the earlier steps, desire, belief, planning, imagination, discipline, you begin to receive what feels like sudden flashes of insight. A hunch, a gut feeling, a spark of clarity. It's not random. It's your subconscious and experience connecting the dots. Most people ignore this inner voice because they don't trust themselves, but successful people listen to their gut because it's been trained by fire, failure, and relentless growth. So what's the message here? Fear is the only real enemy. It's invisible, but it's powerful. The only way to beat it is to name it, face it, and walk through it again and again. Your thoughts shape your belief. Your beliefs shape your actions. And your actions shape everything. At this point, it's clear. Think and Grow Rich is not about chasing quick money or playing the lottery. It's about building a mental system that reshapes how you think, act, and react, so you can create lasting success in any area of life. And Napoleon Hill wants you to understand something very important. The true riches in life are more than financial. He's talking about peace of mind, purpose, health, relationships, influence, confidence, and financial independence. The book's title may start with Think, but by the end it's about how to live. Hill brings all the principles together into what you might call a success engine. Desire and know exactly what you want. Be obsessed with it. Faith, believe you can have it. Visualize it like it already exists. Autosuggestion, repeat your goals daily with emotion to reprogram your mind. Specialized knowledge, learn what actually matters for your goal. Imagination, get creative with how to solve problems and innovate. Organized planning, make a step-by-step plan and adjust as needed. Decision, stop hesitating. Commit quickly with clarity. Persistence, keep showing up, especially when it's tough. Mastermind, surround yourself with people who challenge and support you. Sex transmutation, channel passion and intensity into meaningful achievement. Subconscious mind, feed it thoughts aligned with who you want to become. Brain, stay tuned into ideas, inspiration, and external intelligence. Sixth sense, trust the insight that shows up when you've done the inner work. But Hill doesn't just hand you a formula. He challenges you to take responsibility. If you read this book and say, I already know this, but do nothing, you stay stuck. But if you pick even one principle and apply it consistently, you begin to shift. That's the big idea. We become what we repeatedly think, feel, and do. Riches are not given. They're grown from the inside out. One of the final messages Hill shares is this: success doesn't care about luck. It cares about clarity, commitment, and character. The people who rise aren't always the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who refuse to quit, who stay focused longer, who think differently when things get hard. And they're the ones who understand. Wealth begins with thought, grows through action, and lasts because of discipline. So what's the big takeaway? If you want to grow rich, financially, emotionally, spiritually, you've got to stop waiting and start working your mind. Start dreaming bigger. Start thinking deeper. Start acting with purpose. And above all, start believing that it's possible for you. Because it is. That is the end of the summary of the book. Please subscribe for more books.